evening, everyone. My name is Jen Baldwin, and I am excited to welcome you to another one of our monthly MASL Message Lives. We do this once a month, and we always have a wonderful hour of information and professional development. This month, I'm excited to welcome early chapter book author Shifa Sataji Safadi. She is the author of Kareem Between, which was a National Book Award winner, and as well as the Amina Banana young chapter book, early chapter book things. So, Shifa, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you take over. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey as an author and
Absolutely.
how you got to where you are?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Um, and for that lovely introduction. So I was born in Syria. And when I was a little girl, my parents immigrated to the States, and I grew up in Ohio for the majority of my childhood. We did move out around a lot of different cities because my dad was still studying to be a doctor. And so he was doing different residencies and applying to different programs. And then we ended up settling in Indiana after that, Indianapolis. And then I got married and moved to Chicago. And now me and my husband and four kids are near Chicago. We live near the Chicago area. And growing up, I just always loved books. So I was a majority Arabic speaker as a kid, and English did not come easy to me. I am very much a person who likes to be good at everything, and very much a perfectionist. And so as a kid, I think part of it was me feeling like, I wanted to master the language immediately and it not being a language I heard at home at all. So I remember struggling with English a lot, being in English as a second language class. And one of the things that really, really helped me was books. My teachers and my ESL tutors all told me to read, and that reading would be that gateway to sort of get me into the language and help me learn a lot. And I did. I remember from when I was a little girl, I just adored books. I loved reading. And I always had I was writing poems. I was, making different short stories. So, I had bookshelves. My dad would take me to garage sales and we'd get all these boxes of Nancy Drew books and the Boxcar Children. And, I just adored chapter books in particular and all books. I loved reading. And that stayed with me. A formative moment for me where I really remember was the first moment I was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up, was when I was 10 years old and 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, we lived in a small town called Lima, Ohio, and there was a lot of discourse, do Muslims hate America? What does it mean to be Muslim American? Like the person that did this claims to be Muslim. How do I navigate that? How do I and then what happened too was, I had just worn hijab and me and my mother were out and about when somebody, screamed at us, yelled some slurs at us, told us to go back to our own country. So that was my first experience with really I had felt like obviously, there were differences, of course, growing up. You have ESL and there's different food, culture, stuff like that. But that I think was my formative moment where I remember kind of being treated differently because of my faith and what I wore. But after that, the mayor of our town, his name was David Berger, and he reached out to my family. It was a very small town. So he heard of what happened and he reached out to my family and he asked for all of us to gather, like the few Muslim families in the town, as well as, people from all faiths. So there were Jewish people, Christian people, different denominations, in Lima. And we gathered at a church and there was media there and he came and I met the mayor. And before that, my dad told me, he said, if you want to say something, and my dad said, you like to write poetry. Why don't you write a poem about how you feel? So I wrote a poem and I took it and I remember standing up and saying this poem in front of the mayor and everybody, applauding this moment and just really feeling the power of words, and feeling like, just really happy at the ability to communicate what my faith is about, to be able to show people that, my faith is not, terrorism, it is not bad, and to be able to showcase what matters to me. And so I remember like looking out, and thinking like, this is what I want to do. I want to grow up and use my words to change the world for the better. And then yeah, I mean, that was my first moment. And then I took English literature in college, but it took me a very long time to actually write. I didn't like, while I did write on my own, I have short stories when I was a kid and stuff. Once I took English lit in college, I did not write my own stories. I started just analyzing Shakespeare and, Jane Austen and Chaucer. And I did not write my own stories. I didn't even take that much creative fiction. And I've been asked a lot about why it took me so long because I graduated in 2014 with a bachelor's in English, and I didn't start writing until like maybe 2019, 2020. I got my book, Kitty in Between came out, my debut came out in 2024. So it was like a long time. But when I'm asked, I honestly like have thought about it a lot, and I think that the reason that I didn't start writing my stories until much later was that there were no Muslim stories on the bookshelf at all that I could see. And when you don't see Muslim books on the bookshelf, you genuinely don't think they belong there. Even when I didn't recognize it, I think subconsciously I just told myself, why would anybody buy my book? Why would anybody, it's not there. I think I just got used to analyzing Shakespeare. So once I picked up my keyboard and my pen and started writing when I saw Muslim books start to make it on shelves. And that's why I think that is really what opened the door for me. But, I was looking for books for my kids and I found my first Ramadan book and read it to my child. And it was just a moment of feeling seen. And I remembered my dream and, start and began from there. And that's kind of how my journey began with writing and how I found my dream once again.
Well, your own voice is so important. And in fact, Amina Banana even has Syrian recipes and science experiments. Do you want to little briefly talk about that series and what is included? It bewilders me how much of those hard topics and SEL things that you can put in such short chapters in so few pages and cover, but still keep the students' interest in wanting them to continually turn the page and then continually say, "Where's the next book in the series?" Because that's exactly what this series is for our readers. So it's been fantastic to read.
Thank you. Yes, Amina Banana, and the Formula for Friendship is the first book in the series, and now there's a second book for winning and for making money. The third book
I
that
don't
just
have the third one yet.
it just came out a few weeks ago. And oh my gosh, Amina has my whole heart. The chapter, I love that you mentioned the SEL concepts because the book was born to truly sort of show this girl's journey into, life where like she comes up with a formula to tackle every single issue that comes her way. So, we first get introduced to Amina in book one, where she just moved from Syria to America. So the first thing she comes up with is she's thinking to herself, I really want to make friends. I really want to fit in. And she comes up with a formula for friendship. And along the way, she makes these assumptions, right? She makes the assumption that Americans all speak the same, right? That's one of the things that at some point she realizes that it's okay to have different accents. She figures out, oh, there's somebody with a Boston accent and a Southern accent. There's different accents. So she has to face her own assumptions about what it means to be a friend. And then food, right? They have this kind of sharing of food. And she sees all these different people in her class that tell her, no, I mean, it's American. If I'm making it, then that's all it takes, right? And she has to come to terms with what does friendship mean and realizes that it's about kindness and connection and empathy. And so each of the books really does start from this idea of a theme, of Amina facing a theme that kids face, right? Like I have four kids. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an upper elementary, and then a pre-K kid, and they all have such big questions about the world. And the world we live in, they're constantly struggling with like friendship or bullying or, how to even like how to emotionally control themselves, sometimes like kids, they face disappointment and they don't know how to deal with it. Speaking of disappointment with Amina Banana and the formula for winning, I mean, Amina enters the spelling bee and she really wants to win. And for her, it's not just a fact of winning to get the prize, it's proving that she's not, bad. She's not unintelligent at English. And so when I was reading this with my own 7-year-old, she was very disappointed at the ending. And she told me, "You have to call your editor right now and change the ending." No, that's not because,
Oh,
spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read it, Amina does not win the spelling bee. And so it was a good opportunity for me to have that conversation with my daughter that, okay, but like sometimes we don't win, the spelling bee, or we don't, get something we really want. How do we face that? How do we look at the bright side? What does winning really mean? And how do we, come to terms with when, things are hard? And I think what makes chapter books like the beautiful vehicle for telling those stories is because despite these complex topics, Amina is such a joyful person. She
mhm.
sees the sunshine in everything. She sees, she loves bananas and she's constantly looking for, like the beauty around her. And that carries the story. Because I think at the end of the day, kids are just kids, no matter what background they come from, what their faith is. Kids at their core are just, looking to be loved and to belong and to just feel, happy and in their, state and in their home.
So did you use your kids or some of your own personal situations to write into those stories, or were they totally made up? And then your
Some of
kids
them,
critique
I
them.
definitely, yeah, I mean, I definitely do get inspiration from my kids. They have like so many things that they'll do that I'll write down in a notes app and I'll be like, oh, that would make a great tale. But also, I think when I'm writing any of my stories, the characters do take a life of their own.
Mhm.
So when I'm fully, creating this character and thinking of their backstory, where they came from, what their quirks are, what their likes, what their dislikes are. I get to know this character, especially like Amina. I mean, currently I'm working on book 5 and 6 in the series. So I've spent years and years with this character. So I start to know exactly how she would react to a certain situation and how, and I take her through a plot that I feel like is the best way to show readers the theme of the book. Because I think like readers really do not like didactic books, right? Like we do want them to learn from books and to
Mhm.
identify definitely like how to be better humans. I think we all kind of reach out for hope when we reach out for a book, right? But I think that with kids in particular, they like to be shown a story and they like to be shown the flaws in a character. They like to see them mess up. And so Amina messes up a lot. And I think that's what makes it fun is they're like, okay, what's going to happen next? Is she going to win the spelling bee? Is she going to make enough money, in book 3? Is she going to make enough money to help her family? What's going to happen? What, creative idea is she going to come up with next? And is that going to work? And I think it just shows kids what it's like to just be a kid, to mess up, to have these messy flaws, but also to just, exist and grow and that it's okay to, kind of just explore the world, make those mistakes and learn from them.
So Amina is more of an early chapter book, and then you have
Yes.
Kareem Between,
Yes.
which is more middle grade high school. And we just finished, I'm going to start with this. We just finished the award season. Like I know our MASL award nominees have just come out. So I need to know that story. Like when you found out that you were not only National Book finalist, but then at that Grammy, Emmy type award ceremony, when you get announced as the winner, knowing that you were up against such great
Mhm.
finalists in 2024. I mean, they were some fantastic
Yes.
books. What goes through your mind? Like
Oh my
what,
God.
as you pick up the phone and as you hear your name called, what goes through your mind? Because this was one of your first books and one of your first
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Mean, it is my debut middle grade, and it was not like anything I could have imagined in my wildest dreams. And so the way the National Book Award works is slightly different than the Newbery, I think, in that like the winner is announced live, But then
Right.
you get there's a long list that's released first, which is 10 titles. And that I was literally like, once you reach 10, like you're like, okay, you have a 1 in 10 chance to make it. So the long list was released the day of my book coming out. It was literally launch day.
Wow.
Like I remember I posted like, oh, Gideon's out today, everybody, go get a copy. And then literally 5 minutes later, I get tagged on Instagram by the National Book Foundation. And I'm like, this has to be a mistake. No way. I just dropped on the floor. I mean, floored, and all the authors that were, in company with me are amazing. I'm a fangirl at heart. Like before I was ever a writer, I was a reader for years and years. And so even until now, when I see authors, I still fangirl. I don't know if I can stop that. I love books. I love authors it was a dream come true, honestly. And then so you wait about a month and a half before the finalist list. And so the finalist is the final five. And those final five go to New York and the winner is announced live. So even the finalists, like that day, I knew like, okay, there's a 1 in 5 chance that you're going to be of the 1 in 5. So my math might be wrong. Math isn't my strong suit, guys. But that day I remember just sitting there waiting to be tagged or not tagged, just refreshing my Instagram feed obsessively. And oh my gosh, like when it popped up and I saw Kareem as one of them, I was again like I was on the floor crying. And one of the coolest things is that knowing that even when you're not sure at the finalist point if you're going to be a winner or not, but being a finalist is a big deal as well. You get the seal, you get the sticker, you get to go to New York. I was going to meet my editor for the first time, my publishing team. I get to go to this cool party. Like it was really like awesome, honestly. Like at that moment, I was like, okay, no matter what happens, like I'm cool. And then, I did speak with former National Book Award winner Sabot Taher, and I was like, she DM'd me. She's like, if you want advice on how to, I was like, yeah, I need advice. I don't know what to do. Tell me.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, you should wear a dress. I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, this is like a big fancy event. Like, don't just go in. Like, she gave me so much advice. She told me to write a speech. She was just really, really wonderful. And we get to the day of the awards and it's so nerve-wracking. Like you just I didn't eat a bite. Like I remember just looking at the food on the plate like I can't eat. Like they feed us before this announcement. And it's and I was truly like, you don't know. Like I mean these books are all so amazing and I don't think that I'm more deserving than anybody else. Like it's you just don't know. Like anybody's book could be. They're all beautiful books. And so it's so nerve-wracking, but like I remember just until now when I hear the music of like my kids will sometimes play the video. And when I hear the music, I get like panicky because it just like I'm just like waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they announce my name and I remember just not being able to move at first and just it was such a beautiful moment. Like I don't know that I can ever top that moment. It was just a dream come true for a little girl that was like, reading a poem in front of a mayor and just to get to a National Book Award winning moment. That was just honestly such a magical, magical moment. And I'm so grateful that I got to experience that.
Well, I'm going to call myself out and tell you that that was one of the videos I watched over and over and over again to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Because I was like, okay, I just want to make sure that I've gotten every syllable exactly like it is. And so I'm just telling my MASL members that are in attendance, if you have not watched that YouTube video of Kareem between getting the National Book Award finalist and your acceptance speech, I do not like speaking in front of public, and I think I would have just, but amazing. And the fact that you reach out and talk about your past and thank everybody and just your journey as that author and where you are in that moment. It's just it makes my heart smile. I wouldn't say it's heart wrenching, but just makes my heart smile because I'm there with you in that moment. And yeah, it's totally there. So tell us a little bit about the book in case we haven't read it.
So, Getting in Between, it's a middle grade novel in verse, and it follows a Muslim Syrian American boy who really wants to make his middle school football team. But he fumbles his tryouts and he gets the chance to make the team by doing some unethical cheating with the quarterback of the team. And so the book is set like a football game. So it's set into quarters, and then each poem is titled, it has a football image system. So each poem is titled like a play in a football game. And Kareem is a huge fan of the Chicago Bears. So he talks about the Bears obsessively, like my own kid. And this happens to be set during 2018, early 2018, when the executive order nicknamed the Muslim ban happened. So Kareem is Syrian American and his mom has a green card. She goes to Syria and she gets stranded there because of the Muslim ban. So throughout the book, he has been, doing some things that are not very good because he wants to fit in. And one of those things that he was doing was not helping the Syrian refugee that's in town, and not standing up for his identity. And he struggles a lot to figure out how to be Syrian and American. And that's very much based on like me trying to figure out like how do I be Syrian plus American? How do I navigate these two cultures in one person? And seeing his mother is the catalyst, seeing his mother stuck overseas, it makes him, learn about his First Amendment rights, the right of free speech, the right to protest, the right of the free press, and to right to, his representatives. And so, I don't want to spoil the book, but it's a message of hope, honestly. I really, think about that time. And it was a really sad time for me to watch as a Syrian American to see, it brought back a lot of memories of 9/11, and it also kind of, seeing like stereotypes in general of anybody. You feel like it's really devastating because a whole group gets labeled with one label. And, Muslims were described as, um, dangerous and, bad for the country. So, I remember that time as being something traumatic for me, but I also remember it as a time of hope because I remember how people protested. I remember how the courts took that down and how the Muslim ban, they kept like the courts kept challenging it until it was taken away. So I feel like it's a message of hope because even now, years later, and seeing what's happening to our country, I think we could all use that hope of continuing to fight, continuing to reach out and hope that, things will improve. Because I think sometimes like especially when it feels like the president of the country is doing something, especially to a boy like Kareem, and I, honestly all of us, for me as well, like it feels like how can you challenge authority? How can you change things? But the I think that seeing history through a variety of ways, honestly, not just with the Muslim ban, but the civil rights movement, there are so many moments in our history that are painful, but they also teach us that change can happen, that positive things can come if we keep working towards them. And so I hope that this book remains a message of hope for people and remains, showing them that to keep working for freedom, for all of our rights, for democracy, and that it lives on as that message.
Well, and I mentioned it earlier when I mentioned just Amina covering such heavy, heavy topics, but the fact that you're able to do that in all of your books, and once again, make the kids continually turn the pages and become invested in the work. Um, and then on top of that, provide the hope because you're living it or have lived it and know that personal experience is that one, it's that own voice that a lot of books that have a Muslim character or even just a diverse character we don't necessarily get but because of your one voice we do. So what's on the horizon? I know I can't believe our time is almost up. I think I could have talked to you for probably another hour and a half and still just be in awe. So what's next on your horizon? Tell us what's coming out.
So, Amina Banana, the fourth book comes out in May, and that one is titled Amina Banana and the Formula for Fairness. And Amina gets paired with her arch enemy, Tara, in the science fair. So she's going to have to learn to work together with a frenemy and find, kind of how to overcome your differences and work together. And in September 8th, I have my second novel in verses coming out, and it is titled Sisters Alone. And that one is about two sisters that are stuck home alone in a blizzard when their dad is away on a work trip. And so it's a survival story for fans of Alone by Megan Freeman and
Oh,
Canyon's Edge by Dusty Bowling. And it also touches on themes of anxiety and intrusive thoughts. So, it kind of like has these a symbolism of storms, of both external storms with the blizzard and the internal storms of navigating life after a parent's death. So I'm really, really excited about that book. It's just now on Edelweiss and it's going out to early readers. So I hope people like that second novel in verse. It's a little different. It's more survivally and more kind of adventurous than my contemporary. So I feel like I'm changing a little bit with the theme, but I hope kids like it, and I think there's a lot to hopefully love about it as well.
oh, I'm sure they will be it will be well loved by readers of all ages. Are you currently working on something? Like those are all like in the final process. Can you share?
Yes, I will show you actually. I have a third novel in verse that I'm working on, and it's like paper format. So I printed it out. This is like one of the very last drafts, but this time I felt like I needed to print it out because I'm retyping it and I feel like I just want to tighten it as much as possible. But this one hasn't been sold yet. I haven't taken it out on sub yet, but it is a mystery in verse. So
Ooh.
I keep like changing it up, but this is really exciting. It's a mystery in verse, and it's a feisty main character who she breaks into her principal's office in a heist, and there's a lot of drama, a lot of action, and a lot of adventure. And there's even I use poetry to create clues. So I'm doing a little bit of palindromic poetry with palindromes. I'm doing some acrostics through and secret codes and some anagrams and stuff. So I'm kind of trying to use poetry and language to also create mystery. And I was an ELA teacher, so I love using language to just teach kids, but also intrigue them. And so this one is really like all about kind of poetry and mystery and combining those two together.
Well, I'm not a publicist and I'm definitely not a publisher, but sold like already, like you can already tell like it's going to be there. We have like 2 minutes left and I did not mention this at the very beginning. If anybody wants to type in questions at the chat, now is
Mhm.
the time to do that. But any other last words of wisdom before I turn it over to the chat since you have like 2 minutes left. I want to be cognizant of your time. But
Thank you for having me. Honestly, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
I love it. Like I said, I could have listened to you for much, much more time. And I love the fact that even if your kids didn't come in, they would have been welcome just as much. So I love the fact that you can get them and you made it through the whole 30 minutes and without them
Made
going,
it through
Mommy,
without an
Mommy.
interruption, which is
Yeah.
very surprising for them. I wonder what they're doing. I got to make sure when I get off that they're still alive down there.
Oh, I'm sure they're still alive. Now, what the rest of your house looks like,
I
that's
don't
not,
know.
yeah, that's all okay. Yeah. There's nothing that you can't
They're
clean up,
they're
right?
getting older. They're good kids, but yeah. I'm
Um,
glad they gave me these 30 minutes.
And Sheila says, no questions, but kudos to you. Your English is so good. The fact that you have come so far, I'm amazed, especially being an ELA teacher and being able to not only master it, but be able to teach others it.
Thank
Becky Dolan says, I can't wait to read Kareem. I'm a Bears fan too. Becky, you and I have some issues, friend. What about the Chiefs?
you.
And then Sarah Levine says, so excited about getting more of your new books. So I'm excited for you and know that this is the start of a uh, brilliant and long writing career that I'm sure we will all be watching. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us. Oh, and then Gloria says, my dad is from Chicago, grew up a Bears fan, so motivated by your story. You give me hope for our country's future. That right there is the best way to end our conversation together. Thank you for providing the hope,
Thank
for our readers and for
you.
us. I always love when I can leave a conversation feeling better. Things may not be better, but I feel better. And due to you joining us tonight.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, Jen. Thank you so much for having me, everyone.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Oh my goodness. I think that Okay. We
Awesome.
are now transitioning to our announcements. I don't know about you, but I am so inspired after that conversation with Shifa. And I know I am going to be buying a lot more of her books. Um, we have just a few, it won't take us the 30 minutes that we have allocated, but we have a few MASL announcements. I will turn it over to Andrea with Curriculum Committee first.
All right. We just wanted to promote the next night of the program standards virtual sessions. The first night we had a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago on January 29th. It was a really great turnout. And I felt like we had some really great feedback and comments. Several of you may have been on, so thank you so much for that. The next night we're going to have groups around collection and program advocacy. And what I think really helped us get these going and organize them is the feedback from membership about which areas would be the most helpful. So that's also what I really love about it is that it's kind of chosen by membership, what we want to focus on. So we're really excited to have another night. And I know it's always hard to have evening stuff, but it's a time when you can kind of connect with other people kind of working on the same things as you. So spread the word. If you weren't able to come to the first night, it doesn't matter. Or even if you were, it'll be different content either way. So hope to see as many as we can.
I was able to join that first night and walked away. I all Matt, one of the best things I think about Mazel is the fact that I'm always learning from others, and walked away with a ton of activities and ideas that I could start like immediately the next day, except we didn't have school the next day because, of the snow. But things that I already have on my calendar are things to do this month even. So I'm hoping everybody is able to join. I'm leaving it on to you because intellectual freedom is next.
We have one more, and this has popped up in the Mazel message, but really just wanted to highlight this, not only for the IF Helpline newsletter, which we're going to try to do quarterly. And remember, the helpline is a collaboration with our MLA friends and colleagues. And so there's some information there that kind of spreads it's applicable to school librarians, but also spreads a little bit further out to all other components of librarianship there. But then especially highlighting the grant opportunity. So through the helpline, we did have some funds. We have not used them all for direct helpline functions. And so we wanted to make sure to spread some support, monetary support out to the state. So related to collection development, programming, policy work, any other intellectual freedom needs. Please apply. The form is very simple. We will be reviewing those grant applications monthly, and we'll try to get the money distributed very quickly. So even if you're just thinking about doing a book display or anything that would sort of support intellectual freedom or diversity in your collection, um, any specific program that would have a touch point with intellectual freedom, all those things would apply. And if you have any questions, just feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call, or even just fill out the grant form and then we would contact you that way. So please also spread the word out to the regions around this. We're trying to get the word out and get some grant applications in quickly. So some of you I know are grant queens and we would love to see your name come through. So show us what you got.
Well, and I definitely, when I first saw this, thought of some of our MASL regions who are always looking for different PD opportunities. But I love the fact that it could be even as small as your school level in terms of collection and
Yes.
programming that you're doing. So kudos to providing this opportunity for us to have that funding. So, any questions for Andrea, feel free to pop them in the chat and she'll be around even if as we continue on, you can continue and she's good about answering. So, moving on, we have public relations. I believe it's Becky who is going to talk about our I Love My School Library contest. Becky, you're muted. Sorry.
Well,
There you are.
I was just going to town, just giving you all the
Well, I scrolled
information.
down to
So,
find your face so I could see. I was like, where's her pretty face? I want to see her face and the beautiful background that you always use and make me feel
oh
jealous.
yeah, because this is where I want to be right here. Okay, so no, so we put out information on socials about the I Love My School Library contest. Basically, anyone can nominate their school library, students, families, staff members. You can nominate your own library. Basically, we're just asking that you submit a short essay, drawing, or video. Video submissions should only be 1 to 2 minutes in length because we have to review all the submissions, and it can take a very long time if they're longer than that. And then they will have a winner will be chosen from each grade level, elementary, middle, and high school. And it's open to all K through 12. The first 5 entries per school will be considered. So if your school has 20 entries, we're only taking the first 5. That's just, again, time consuming. Winners will be notified via email April 15th. All submissions are due by the end of March, March 31st. Winners will be notified April 15th, and then will be celebrated at the spring conference. We have on the MASL website, we have the Google form that you can click on and enter. We also have paper forms you can download. And the winner will get $250 worth of books for their school library from our sponsors are Bound to Stay Bound, Gumdrop, and Mackin. So pretty good deal. And yeah, that's what we got right now.
That's fantastic. Don't forget to submit. You can start planning those submissions and sharing with your buildings. Those are due March 31st. And I want to thank our sponsors once again and name them Bound to Stay Bound, Gumdrop, and Mackin. They're the ones who are providing the $250 worth of books for each of the winners. And there's a winner for elementary, middle, and high. So thank you for sharing, Becky. Next, we have, and since we're going to be celebrating the I Love My Library winners at Spring Conference, we will move on to our Spring Conference announcements. Am I turning it over to, I don't know who I'm turning it over. I'll let you guys just talk and just tell me when I'm supposed to change to the next slide, please.
Wonderful. So yes, we have a fun spring conference hub as we get new information and as things are posted, they're going to be on socials. And updates and links will be on the MASL messages. But this is the link, the bit.ly for the spring conference hub. So if you're like, huh, I wonder which authors are going to be there, the newest and updated versions of each thing will be posted. So you can see, you can start getting your schedule together, looking at all of the different workshops that are going to be posted. You can see which authors are going to be there. You can even plan out some of your food by looking at the list of restaurants nearby. So make sure to take a peek at the spring conference um, and get ready because it's going to be amazing.
I love the hub, and I'm a bit um, disappointed that I didn't have this for my PR committee last year. Um, your spring
This
conference
is
chair
all Sarah.
amazing. Amazing. This like this will be something I look at regularly. And I know you mentioned it, and I don't know if there's a slide for it, but there are even more authors that were announced last month. Like they're still signing up. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we were excited to find out that the illustrator for the Show Me Award winner, Hamsters Make Terrible Roommates, is also going to be in attendance. So that's exciting. We're going to have the author and the illustrator from that story at conference. Be sure to check out the conference workshops. We have a lot of wonderful workshops going on. We have authors speaking. We have our wonderful MASL members presenting. Just too many to choose from. We wish we could go to all of them. So be sure to check out the spring conference workshops.
So it's been extended. This is so exciting, everyone. I don't know about you. I love the conference t-shirts and I sport them on a regular basis. You have now until February 13th, so we have just a couple more days. So if you have not registered yet, let's go ahead and register and get that fun MASL t-shirt. There are some other ones. Actually, we're opening up the store again, the MASL store. So I don't know about you, but I definitely missed out on that quarter zip fleece sweatshirt. That is so key in those cold ballrooms. And so I'm going to be racking out some of those. That's going to so the MASL store is open, and there's even a new t-shirt coming in that is MASL related. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can definitely February 13th is the new cutoff for the t-shirt.
The
Hey,
deadline,
Sarah,
go ahead. Go ahead, Savannah.
is the link for that MASL store for all those extra shirts on our conference hub?
It will be.
And those are the things that we are going to be able to pick up, order, but pick up at MASL, correct? Those
Yes.
extra
Yeah.
quarter zip and the other shirt. Okay. Okay.
Yes, and those all have to be ordered beforehand. So I believe it's mid-March that everything has to be submitted by, so that it can be made and then delivered to conference for your accessorizing.
There is a question in the chat. When will the new shirt be in the MASL store? Do we know when that's going to be added? I know you have the design already.
We have the design, but I don't know when it's going to be posted.
Okay.
I thought it was, but maybe I'm just making that up.
Okay.
We'll get
And
it
then
to you really soon.
And then Gloria,
Yeah.
who is Jill Tonight, is asking to send new graphics so that she can post them to socials as well. So we'll get those
For
taken
sure.
care of for you. And then I just want to make a note, like in the past, after the February or the t-shirt deadline, the cost of registration would go up. And ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, that is not happening this year.
Nope. Nope.
So,
It stays the
so
same. Stays the
it
same.
stays the same. The only bonus is that you're getting the t-shirt or not getting the t-shirt. So you might as well register now to get the t-shirt because it's such a
Yeah.
cool shirt. Okay.
And we're still looking for awesome pictures of your library community. We want to see you. We want to see your libraries. We want to see your kids. So send in those pictures. We also want to find vintage pictures, pictures from back in the day of your libraries or libraries in general, or your public library or something. So scrounge out those pictures and send them in so we can celebrate them at Spring Conference.
And this is
This
the
is our
75th
75th.
anniversary of MASL. So we have a lot of legends that we have celebrated throughout the years. And so if you have a library legend that you want to celebrate, please come and share it with us.
That'd be awesome. And the link to do this is also on the hub, correct?
For this,
Uh-huh.
it's been posted mostly on socials, but that is a wonderful idea and it shall be on there soon.
Okay. And then I think that is the rest of our announcements. I do want to very briefly make sure everybody is aware of two things concerning our March MASL Message Live. We had to, because there were 5 Mondays in March, we had to move it back to the third Monday of March. And I will also tell you that we have Rashad Dosset as our speaker, and he is not going to allow us to record his presentation. He is he not only was on this past year, 2025, Denny O'Neil, but he also is an illustrator for Baller. I can't remember the exact title off the top of my head. I had it written down somewhere, and it's not on my notes anymore. He is an illustrator for one of this year's Denny O'Neil books. So talking to him as an illustrator and as an author, but it will not be recorded. So mark it on your calendar, March 16th, third Monday of March, and we will hope to see you there. Are there any announcements that I have completely forgotten and need to be said? I'll open it up to the floor at this time. I am seeing a note that we will get the new shirt added to the store and the links in the hub. This was all Sarah, so kudos to Sarah because the hub is amazing and so easy to navigate and get info. And I think that's what Becky said too. Great minds think alike. I know we're about 15 minutes early, but I don't mind giving you 15 minutes of your night back to you. Um, I'll ignore that message, Becky. Um, she says go Bearcats, and we know that it's supposed to be gorillas. Always, 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 always gorillas instead. But thank you for allowing me to bring up a gorilla. I had not mentioned gorillas at all tonight. Now I can mention gorillas. So thank you so much. But otherwise, I will let you go and I will see you in March. And don't forget to register for spring conference so that we can see you in person in April. So have a great night, everybody.